Hello and welcome back to the Be Elite podcast, where we dive into deep discussions, explore some uncharted realms, and occasionally we wander off the beaten path. I'm your host, Ben Allgaier, here to guide us through the untapped territories of thought and innovation, unpacking what it means to be elite. Our guest today is Jason Pritchard, a real estate entrepreneur who's turned his passion into an impressive career, owning over 100 rental units and managing a $10 million portfolio in Central California. Jason started his career as a W-2 sales job and made the leap into real estate, where he's made his real mark. He's more than just a real estate investor, though. Jason's also a travel hacking enthusiast and has been to some of the coolest places around the globe. He also is known for organizing some of the biggest real estate events in Central California. Juggling his professional life with being a loving husband and father, Jason's journey is a blend of smart investing, community building, and family values. Welcome to the show.
What an intro, dude. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. Good. It's been a whole week since I talked to you last.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, long time no see, man. It's good to connect with you, man. I had a really good time talking with you and Todd in Scottsdale last week, dude. So I'm excited to get on the show and provide some value to your audience, man.
Perfect. Let's get after it. So this is kind of special for me. You probably don't know this, but I followed you since before we ever met at Investor Fuel. Somehow came across your profile, and I followed you since well before we met all those years ago at Investor Fuel. So let's just start off with this.
Yeah.
Your real estate journey. Can you kind of walk us through that from starting this sales job to now you're becoming this successful real estate entrepreneur and over 100 units now? Like, how do you go from sales guy to now I'm going to jump into real estate and build this massive portfolio?
Yeah. No, man, it's been a pretty wild ride the last 15 or 20 years. Backstory on me, man, was, I just came from a normal middle-class family. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And education, because my dad was in it, like worked as a teacher, was always instilled in me. And so I always did well in school. And I always thought, I would follow that traditional path of go to college, graduate, get a good job, work, and then, retire in your golden years. And I was on that track at a pretty early age. One of the things that happened to me that kind of changed the trajectory of my life was I had a child when I was really young. I was 18 going on 19 when my son was born. And so I really started taking work a little bit more seriously because financially, I needed to start paying the bills. And I worked for a technology retailer, and they had a outside sales department at that company. And I saw that all the sales guys were doing well. They were the ones that made the most money at that place. And so I threw my name into the hat, dude. And I eventually ended up getting hired, and I took to that position very, very well. And I ascended into a management position within like 9 months. And so I went from, honestly, dude, like making nothing at that place to making over six figures when I was like 23 years old. And it happened just like that. And so I thought that I was on the fast track, man, to being very successful. I thought I was just going to climb the corporate ladder. And I envisioned myself as like a regional manager or some type of director where I had, multiple people working under me, different teams. I thought I'd make, $200,000-$300,000 a year and live a very kind of cushion, comfortable life. And I was on that trajectory for 15 years. I worked at a couple different companies, and I found myself in my early 30s in a space where I was very, very unhappy, dude. I was unhappy, and I was projecting a lot of that unhappiness into my marriage, into my relationship with my kids. And a lot of it came down after doing some self-reflection to realizing that I knew that I was put on this earth to do more than what I was doing. And I could look around at like my older coworkers and see basically what my future was going to be if I didn't make a change. And, that was not an easy thing to do, man. And so I had always been intrigued by the idea of real estate investing, but like a lot of people that are probably listening to this, you talk yourself out of it with lots of different reasons. You come up with different excuses and reasons why the timing isn't right. And maybe I'll wait for the market and this, that, and the other thing. And I found myself in a place in, 2013, 2014, where I just knew that if I did not make a change, I basically said it's now or never. And if it doesn't happen now, I'm probably going to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And that was the pivotal moment, man. My wife and I sat down and talked. We figured out a plan. She had gone to college and was just starting her career as a high school counselor. So she was going to get a bump in pay. So we basically worked our finances out in a way where, we gave me a year of runway to try to figure it out. And I didn't burn any bridges or anything like that. But, I did burn the boats, like Tony Robbins said. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to quit. And I went all in 2014 and haven't looked back since, man. It's been a wild ride.
Nice. Yeah, because we talk to so many different people on this show, and it's burn the boats, don't burn the boats. Like there's that dilemma there, right? Of do I burn the boats and have no fallback plan, and just make sure that I make it or not? Because I talked to Todd on this podcast the other day, and he goes, "Man, I didn't burn the boats." He goes, "I had kids, I had a wife. Like there was no way that I could burn the boats. It just wasn't a thing that I could do." So there's definitely like kind of two ways to get into this. There's multiple ways to get into this business, but you're the testament to 100% burn the boats, go all in, make it work. And then there's also that other side of it too.
And I'll add, dude, it's not for everybody. The way my route and my journey is not the right journey for everybody. I'm the type of person that I would say performs very well under pressure. And I'm kind of a natural procrastinator. So I always wait until we actually have to do something. But when it actually has to get done, I usually perform very well. So I knew inherently that if I was operating with the safety net of my kind of corporate job, which was pretty cushy at that time, and I was doing very well, it took so much work and it's so challenging making that transition at the beginning that it would have been very easy for me to just convince myself that real estate investing was not for me, because you deal with so many struggles. And so I'm the type of person that had to do that, but I know plenty of people and I met with plenty of people where it makes sense for them to do both, right? And maybe not jump in. And you have to be self-aware if you're kind of contemplating making this decision on whether or not you can deal with the uncertainty of not having a regular paycheck coming in, month out, when you have been used to that. For like, I was conditioned to just going in and getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and it was easy. And when you get into this business, you are not paid for your time. You're paid for producing a result. I say that all the time. And you can make a lot of money once you learn how to produce that result, especially at scale. Yeah. But until then, you're not getting paid nothing. And so like, it took me 12 months almost to monetize my first deal, dude. So we took that 1 year runway that I had, I took it all the way down to the wire.
And all the way to the end.
We made it happen, man. Yeah. So it was the first few years were definitely a learning experience for sure, man.
How'd you make that first deal happen? What'd you do?
It's very interesting. I'll give you the condensed version of this story, but that first deal for me came from bandit signs. And for those of you that don't know that, it's like those "We Buy Houses" signs that you guys see plastered up on telephone poles. I didn't know anything about real estate. I came with no prior background in construction. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any, prior real estate experience besides just selling one personal primary residence, right? So I listened to a bunch of podcasts just like everybody else does. Bandit sides were a cheap and easy way for me to go out and feel like I was generating leads and doing some marketing. And I had an old timer call me, and we sat down at a Taco Bell, and I'll never forget this. He said, "Hey, I have breakfast at this Taco Bell on the street all the time." He goes, "You want to meet me over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I downloaded some 19-page contract off the internet. We sat there for like 3 hours, dude, just inside the Taco Bell. And it was so funny. I only brought one copy of that contract, man. And we signed it, and he was like, "Well, where's my copy?" And I was like, "Well, shoot, I didn't bring you another copy." So I had to ask the manager of the Taco Bell store to use like their photocopy machine in the back, and they made a copy for me, man. So that was actually, so this is what's really funny, man. That was the first contract that I got signed, but it was not the first deal that I did. So I was so hyped after I did that. We signed that contract. I spent all day with that old man. I drove the contract into my title company. They opened escrow, and that deal ended up falling through because his wife didn't want to sell. So I learned something very early on to qualify all the decision makers. So the wife ended up backing out. And I can remember, honestly, bro, I cried after that. Like, I was so frustrated because it was 9 or 10 months in, and I was like, this is it. It's done. We're going to make money from this thing. And it just fell out. And I remember having a very serious conversation with my wife after that. And she was just like, "Listen, I don't care if you got to go work at Walmart or Starbucks, but if you don't make something happen, like right now, you're going to have to find another way to start making some money." And after that conversation, within 30 days, bro, no joke, I had closed on 3 properties, like back to back to back to back. Yeah. So it was, I say that story to say that it's usually darkest before the dawn, right? So usually in those moments where, you feel like things are just like literally getting ready, the wheels are ready to come off.
Yep.
You just have to keep pushing. And I always use that meme that we see on the internet where it's two guys digging for gold and one guy's like 2 feet away, 3 feet away, and he quits. And the other guy's just going feverishly and he knows that he's going to get there. And you always have to be the person that never gives up. And that's what I did, man. So I monetized those 3 deals right after that. And that was, like I said, coming right up to that 12-month mark. And we didn't look back. And we didn't make it by any stretch of the imagination because there was lots of trials and tribulations after that. But that was the start, man. That was 2014, beginning of 2015.
That's a hell of a story there. There's something that I always kind of tell my guys here because we've gone through that too. We've gone through times where we were like 2 weeks from having no money. Like our reserves were gone in 2 weeks, and we had to make something happen. We're freaking out trying to get something to happen, and then I would look at the team. I'm like, hey guys, here's the deal. Everybody else is going to get to this point, and they don't have what it takes to get to that next to get past it and figure out how to get to where we just get a deal. We got to find something. So whenever we come across these challenges where a seller says some shit and they're like, yeah, man, I'm not doing the deal with you, or like you got to overcome that last objection. I'm always like, hey, we've done it before. Fucking put your head down. Let's do it again. So that's a hell of a story, dude. I love that.
I love it, man. Yeah, no, it's persistence, dude. That's one of our core values in our company, and you have to be persistent, man. There's no way. You have to have a grit and a tenacity in this business to be successful that, you can't learn without actually putting yourself in the fire and coming out the other end. So no, it's great. It's a great message.
Well, I think that's a great point to make to anybody who wants to get into business. It ain't easy. This shit's hard. Regardless of what business you're getting into, this stuff sucks a lot of the time. The wins are great because they're like your wins. You made the win happen, but I mean, those times where you're just getting kicked in the nuts most of the time, it's like, okay, when am I going to get a win? So that's awesome, dude. So how do you go from those first 3 deals to now you have this massive portfolio? Like, what was the mindset? Because I'm assuming when you first got those deals, your wife's like, okay, thank God, let's collect some cash and let's go do this all over again. But you obviously had a different mindset to it and was like, no, I'm going to keep a lot of these properties. So
yeah. And that was honestly the best decision, Ben, that I ever made, bro. Like for me, one of the things that I would recommend for anybody that's new, that's getting into this business, is to learn how to properly delay gratification. And that's what we did for a very, very long time. And so I think my biggest asset and how I transitioned from like this corporate job to real estate, so I don't want to say so smoothly, but the things that really worked in my favor was my sales background and my sales experience. So once I did those first few deals, I realized the process of generating a lead, qualifying that lead, taking them through a normal sales process and getting them to the point where you can make an offer that's a win-win that everybody can get on board with, signing that contract and opening escrow. That was essentially this. You're speaking a slightly different language, but it's essentially the same thing that I had been doing for the last 15 years. And once that clicked in my head, it was like just getting back on a bike and then starting to go. And so for me, things scaled up pretty quickly. I focused mainly on fix and flip for the first 2 years because ultimately my goal was just trying to replace my income from my corporate job. Yeah. So we probably flipped like 6 or 7 houses in year 1. We doubled that in year 2. And I was very intentional about networking and getting around other people that were doing the things that I wanted to do. And that's a very big hack for a lot of people that are struggling to find success. I always attribute this quote to Jim Rohn. So you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I was spending a lot of time prior to that with my core friend group and people that I had known my entire life. And those are all great guys and they're still my friends, but they were not on the same path that I was at the time. So I had to make a new friend group that was interested in real estate investing. And I got around a small group of guys out here that were all about my age, had all been investing for a little while. And most of them were big buy and hold investors. They did flipping, they did agent activity and stuff like that, but their goals were to buy rentals. And I had guys, at that point I was in my mid 30s and there were guys that were younger than me that had 30 or 40 rental properties here in town. And that was just mind boggling to me. I didn't realize, I couldn't even fathom how things like that were possible. And so just being in close proximity to them, they would always encourage me and tell me, Ben, like, listen, man, like this is great. flipping is great. You're getting some consistent momentum in your business, but you got to start peeling off one or two of these deals. So for every 3-4 projects you do, just carve off one and keep, man, and then monetize the other. And so I got very serious about basically just running and operating my flipping business at a break even, meaning I'd pay for the little overhead that I had. Most of the money I was spending was on marketing, direct mail, that type of thing, right? And I would just flip enough houses to pay my bills. We lived well below our means. We continued to live just using my wife's income. We didn't, cannibalize any of the profits that we were making from the flips. And I plowed everything into rental properties. And basically towards the end of my second year of business, I bought my first rental. And then within 3 years, I had bought 50 rentals. And so I was just laser focused on all I was doing was buying rental properties, man. And I swear, dude, I don't have it here in my office. It's in our living room area, but I have a check, the very first check that I paid myself from the business, like $4,700. Because I remember talking with my accountant at that time, and she was like, "Listen, there's money in here if you want to pay yourself some money." Because I had just had my head down, dude, and it was just blinders on for so long. Yeah. I didn't even care. It was like, whatever. And she goes, "Well, there's plenty of money in the account if you want it." And I was like, "Well, what would that look like?" And so then we actually started making some projections from what the rentals were bringing in and what the business was bringing in. And she was like, "Well, I would feel good about this salary." And we just started paying ourselves about $4,000 a month. And that was the first time I touched any profits. We're almost 5 years into the business because we were so focused on that. And so that was it, man. And we just build that momentum. And, a few years after that, we had doubled the portfolio again. Now we're just over 100 units and, we're in a pretty good position, man.
That's crazy. And I think one of the points to make about that whole thing is when shit goes wrong in your business, which it evidently will, like it's inevitable that things are going to go poorly. When you have something like a backbone of 100+ rentals, you're fine for a long time. Like you can do a lot. You can buy yourself a ton of time and have the flexibility to not panic, which is something that I wish I would have done a hell of a long time ago instead of, we got in the groove of flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping. And we're like, all right, let's take all this cash. Let's collect this cash. We've been building this business. We've been grinding for a whole 2.5 years. Let's pull all this cash off. So yeah, man, that's awesome that you're able to do that. And
you hit it on the head, dude. And this is there's lots of benefits to owning rentals. Yeah. There's cash flow, there's appreciation, there's depreciation. You can leverage debt to buy them. There's all these positive things about it. But one of the things a lot of people don't talk about is the peace of mind that you get, right? Especially after the year that we've all come out of, 2023, and just the uneasiness and everything with the real estate market. I know lots of people, man, that just did not have a proper financial runway. And I think I talked about it. I don't know if we're in the same room when we were doing this at Fuel, but we made a decision to liquidate just some of the problematic properties that we had lots of equity in because we wanted to be in a better liquidity position. And I just wanted to be sitting on more cash, dude. And so, real estate isn't a liquid asset, but with the way our business is, we can identify the properties. And if we do things the right way in 90, 120 days, we can pull that equity out. And we made a strategic decision at the beginning of 2023 to do that with 5 or 6 properties. And we freed up over $500,000 in cash, dude, and working cash that we can now just sit on. Right. And now we've got lots of runway. We don't have to make decisions from a place of scarcity. Right. And so, as a business owner and our core business is real estate investing, it's nice to be in that position. And I would highly recommend to, again, delay gratification as long as you can. Don't touch that money, plow it into rental properties, and, just let time take care of everything else after that.
Yeah. I wish I would have met Jason about 6 years ago when my dumbass had gotten out of college and went to go work for corporate America and then left corporate America to go work in real estate and thought I was the shit and bought all these cars that I couldn't afford and a nice apartment that I couldn't afford. Yeah. If I go back and do that and have this conversation with you 6-7 years ago, man, I'd be in a whole different place.
And you know what? Here's something I used to tell myself, dude. And I totally understand that feeling because I used to feel like that coming out of those networking events with that core group of guys that I just got done talking about. I was like, damn, dude, only if I had known in 2010 and 20, because those guys were buying houses for like 20 grand. And at that point, I was spending 70 grand or 80 grand for that same house. Right now, those houses that I thought at the time I was too late, all those houses are worth $250,000 to $300,000. All the houses that I bought. Right. So we can't go back. We can't change anything. It is what it is. All you can do is start right now, right? And I think that's a message for you, and a really, more importantly, a message for people that are using that as an excuse to kind of stay on the sideline right now, because, like that old saying goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time to do it is right now, man. So right now is when we need to start. And I think if you can get involved in real estate the same way that we are, where we focus on buying below market value, we're focusing on value add projects that we're getting at deep discounts, there's still ways to aggressively grow a rental portfolio if you do it the right way, especially if your numbers are right.
For sure. So let's piggyback that with what this buys you, the things that it allows you to do with your life to get people excited. All these trips that you take what, one a quarter with your wife?
One per quarter. Yep.
Dude, that's insane. And they're not like, it's not like you're going to freaking Arizona for a trip to Scottsdale to go hang out at a resort. You're going some cool ass places, like all over the world.
Yeah. So I think another message that I would say for the people that are listening, I think it's important to build a business that supports the type of lifestyle that you want to live. Yeah. And I think people say that a lot when they first get into real estate investing, but they don't, number one, really have clarity on what is your dream life. Like, what do I really want to do? You know what I mean? And so one of the things that my wife and I always loved to do was travel. And that was the time that we did travel. And it was like once a year when we were in corporate America, because you only get a couple weeks of vacation. So we would save up, do a trip to Mexico or wherever we would go. But those were the times where we really connected on a very deep level. It felt like an investment into our relationship, into our marriage. And I remember making a commitment to her, I think it was in 2017. And, if you guys go follow me on Instagram, you can scroll down to the bottom of my page, and there's a post that I made in 2017 talking about the commitment that we had made to basically once a quarter travel. And, it wasn't always these crazy trips at the beginning. It was just, what we could afford. But, we have gone on recently some really, really cool trips. I mean, we've been all over the world: Italy, Bali, the Maldives, the Philippines. I mean, just really, really cool trips. And what's even cooler is that we leverage credit card points to travel essentially for free. So that's really the cool part. And that's my definition of leveraging the business to live the life that you want, because we spend so much money on a monthly basis on just, you name it, everything, dude. We're spending a ton of money, $300,000-$400,000 a year just at Home Depot. Plus we have all of our other vendors. Plus we have all of our marketing, the payroll, any expense that could be run on a credit card. We have it set up in a way where we're leveraging specific credit cards to maximize these travel rewards that we can do. And we were talking about it a week ago. We just went to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we got round trip tickets from our home city, Fresno, to USVI, and 6 days at the Ritz-Carlton for $32. $32 total for both of us. It's wild for flight and hotel. So, there are some really cool things that you can do with travel hacking. Obviously, it takes some time. And for people that are interested in doing it, you don't have to wait to have a business to do it. What we did was first, we started with just our personal expenses. We got an American Express Marriott Bonvoy card because we really like staying at Marriott brand hotels. And so we would just funnel all of our personal expenses every single month onto that card. Make sure you pay your balance off in full. Do not do this if you have bad personal financial habits. But as long as you're paying off your balance in full and you're not incurring any interest, it's basically like free money. And there's a whole, the credit card reward points are like their own currency, and there's all these different ways to convert them and do different things. So yeah, dude, it's been pretty cool to leverage that to do the travel that we want.
What were those two apps that you told me about? Or what was that one app that you told me about?
The big one that we use to kind of consolidate everything and track everything in one place is called Award Wallet. So if you guys want to take things to the next level, I would just sign up for a free Award Wallet account, and you can sync all your frequent flyer miles. So anytime you guys go on a flight, make sure you sign up. It's cost nothing for all of their mileage programs, and make sure you're accumulating those things, and then sync those accounts with Award Wallet. Then you can sync all of the credit card accounts that spit out rewards. So we have a Marriott Bonvoy card for our flipping company, for our rental company. We have a personal one. And then we have an American Express Gold business card that we use for flights and some miscellaneous things. And so we funnel all of those expenses through those accounts. and they end up accumulating points. They all go into one bucket, and then we can kind of convert them and use them in different ways. And so Award Wallet is a really good way to kind of keep track of everything in one place. And then I just think start with, if travel is not your thing, just do cash back. And that's what I tell people, because some people are not into travel the way that we are. And that's totally fine. It's not for everybody. It's a lot of stuff to do. And so if you don't care about that and you don't want to do that, just get a good 2 or 3%, if you're lucky, cashback rewards card, and just run all of your personal and or business expenses through a card like that. And at the very bare minimum, you're going to get that cash, however often they distribute it, man. And so I think does it make sense, especially when you run a business with big overhead and lots of expenses, to not leverage that stuff? And there's lots of cool ways that you can do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Jason traveled a little differently than I did when I, one of my backpacking journey through Europe, staying in hostels, getting bed bugs twice, and just taking the worst possible transportation between these cities. So
one thing I've learned is that I like to stay at nice places. I do like to travel in first class or business class. I don't make any qualms about that. I've gone and we've flown all over the world, and we've done the same thing where we stayed at, just try to stretch the budget as far as you can and just make it happen. But I like staying at the Ritz, dude. You know what I mean? I like going into business class, and if I'm on a 15-hour flight, being able to lay down, and I think it's okay, and that's what makes us happy. And so that's how we decide to leverage that thing. And I definitely am not going to pay $15,000 for a business class flight. And so if there's a way that I can do that and get that same flight for free, I'll definitely do that, man. So
for sure, dude, that's awesome. So I wanted to touch on like the big things that you're working on, which number one is your guys' group, your massive following of investors all through Central California that you guys have built. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, and then talk about how people can get involved with that, and how people can follow along with you, and what the whole goal is for you guys with that group? Like, I mean, we've talked about it before, like us building out a group here in Kansas City that kind of models that, but that whole collaboration type of mindset when you go into this thing.
Yeah, dude, I feel like when you're getting into this business, there's lots of ways that you can grow and scale your business, right? And so for me, because I came into real estate with no prior connections, no prior experience, I really had to put myself out there and just attend a lot of the local networking events and RIAs. And so if you're starting, go on meetup.com or go on Facebook and join as many groups as you can, and just get out there and start meeting people. And that's what I did first. Okay. And so I would just go and attend. And then eventually, as my business started to become successful, I would make connections with the people that were organizing the groups, and I would just offer to share what was working, right? I would just be like, hey, do you want to take a break next month and not have to come together and put this presentation? I'd be happy to talk about X. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what's working. I will share everything for free. I just want to provide value to the other people. And I did that, and I got really good positive feedback from the people that would attend. And I also realized something about myself, that I just really do genuinely like helping people. I can remember what it was like for me to start, and there was a few people that helped me get to where I'm at. And so I wanted to kind of reciprocate that and pay that forward. And so I started doing that. Eventually I got to a space where I was able to start my own group, and we grew that out. And it's just become like this amazing thing now, man, where myself and my two good friends, Dean Rogers and Stratton Brown, we all had our own individual groups here in Central California. And we run our own independent, separate businesses, but we all liked each other. We knew each other, and we knew that we all had kind of the same mindset, right? And we believed in leading with value, not expecting anything in return, and just trying to help as many people and be a positive impact in our investor community out here in Central California. So we eventually combined forces like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And that was like putting fuel on the fires that we all had individually, man. And things have really taken off since then. And now, we'll put on, usually a free monthly event in different markets here in Central California. And this last one, we had 225 people show up. We did a, full day workshop on how to get started investing in real estate. And, we're just trying to lead by example and show that, you can come from a place of abundance when it comes to real estate. I think when I first got into the business, lots of people were very close to the chest. this collaboration movement that has become, I think, a little bit more popular, was not something that was happening then. There was not like top tier investors coming and talking to me, showing me how to do the business, right? And so I feel like we want to set a different type of example and say, listen, there's plenty of opportunities for everybody. There's never going to be a shortage of sellers that are inheriting a house that they don't want, or are going through some type of financial distress and maybe losing their house to the bank or for property taxes, or they're dealing with problems. That's going to happen regardless of whether the market's up or down, right? And so we just realized like, hey, we want to get really good at learning how to get in front of those sellers. We want to show as many people as we can. And we found our collective momentum compounds and actually gets us to where we want to go further and faster than us trying to just carve out our own path, man. And so it's been really cool and amazing, man. And so I would highly recommend, I know you and I have talked about it, but for anybody that's got a little bit of traction and there is not, let's say you go on Meetup and there is not a group, start one, be the person. And that was something that was such a powerful thing for me, because I didn't do this because I wanted deals or I wanted private money lenders or anything. I genuinely was leading with like trying to help people, but that's how the universe works, dude. When you provide a lot of value to other people, the universe will always reciprocate and bring that back to you, man. And it's been proven to me over and over again. I've gotten so many relationships with private money lenders, joint venture opportunities. People bring us deals all the time because we branded ourselves, and I branded myself personally as a buyer for these types of properties out here. So there's lots of positive ways it can impact your community, and we're just trying to take it to the next level, man. We're going on a big event in April. We'd love to have you and Todd come out as special guests, man. If you guys can make it, dude, we're going to be renting out a venue at a brand new casino that they opened up out here, dude. It's going to be something bigger than we've ever done. And that's been done out here in Central California in a long time, man. So we're really, really excited.
Yeah, dude. Send me the dates. I'm happy to, that'd be awesome. I've seen your guys' growth. Like I said, I've been following you for a lot longer than you probably even know. So I've seen your guys' evolution in this growth. And when I got into this business, it was all, dude, it was everybody, every man for themselves.
Yep.
You're always competing. There's no abundance mindset. And it was just not a fun business to be in, right? Like everybody's cutthroat. You're scrapping with investors. You got affidavits filed here. You got a lawsuit over here. Like, it was a freaking grind and it sucked. I saw what you guys were doing and I'm like, why can't everybody do that? Like, why can't we go to the big dogs in our market? And I know exactly who I'm going to go to. After we had this conversation at Fuel last week, I'm going, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to these guys. We're going to put this thing together. We're going to build this together, and we're going to build a community in Kansas City of people that have this growth mindset. Because the people that don't have the growth mindset and the abundance mindset, they ain't going to come anyway. So you want to bring.
You're not talking to them, dude, because they're never going to come. They're never going to collaborate. They're not going to share anyways, dude. So you're better off attracting the people that share the same vision or are aligned with your guys' goals. And when you're the barometer for that, like you're the one that starts that, and people look at you as a leadership position for the community for that. So many cool, amazing things happen, man. I've grown so much as a mentor and as a leader in my business just from being able to positively impact that. And the really cool thing is just hearing the stories of the people that attribute their success, or at least a part of their success, to things that they've learned or your relationship. It's just such an amazing feeling, man, to just talk to all of these people that you're like, damn, dude, I went to one of your meetups. I applied this. I just did, 4 deals last year. And that's like life-changing. You know what I mean? And so not just for them, but for us too on this side, man. And so I've heard you say a couple times today that you started following on social media. And that's another thing that I would say to the people that are listening, is that the meetups are a great kind of like old school organic way of networking in person. Right. So that's a great way to do that locally in your community first, and then it can kind of stretch out from there. I really, really believe that this thing right here is the most powerful tool that we have access to, because the same way that you can make a connection one-to-one or one to a small group at one of those meetup events, you can do the same exact thing. And our relationship is attributed to this thing, man. You connected with me on social media prior to us ever meeting in person. Right. So once you get good at doing the in-person events, at least for me, that's how it worked. I needed the confidence to get up in front of a group, kind of dial in my public speaking, feel comfortable talking. And then I leveraged that. And I I started creating content around that because I was like, wow, I'm getting really good positive feedback from the people that are attending. And so we've got 20, 30, 40, 50 people at the beginning kind of coming to these meetups. How can I spin that and use that on social and maybe impact 300 people? Or now, I get 2,000 or 3,000 people that look at my stories every single day, right? And so I get to speak directly to all those people there. And so don't wait. If you're on the fence about getting started in social media, or especially if you're new and you feel like you don't know what to say, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was I waited too long to start sharing my journey on there, man. And I had imposter syndrome big time, which I think a lot of people do.
We all
like,
do.
well, what am I going to talk about? Like, like I'm nobody. I've only done a couple deals. All that voice that gets really loud in your head at the beginning, right? We got to learn how to master that voice and realize that there's lots of people out there that want to see the come up. And I think that's where I missed it, right? I have a story, and I'm making some content about this weekend. The very first Instagram story that I ever posted was like in 2018 or 2019, and it still shows up as one of my highlights. And it's me standing in front of my 19th rental. And I say that, it's like, hey guys, I'm here in front of, that's the very first time that I felt comfortable, like actually talking on camera about real estate. I had 19 rentals. I probably flipped like 100 properties by that point. And for whatever reason, it took me that long to get there, dude. And if I could go back and do something over with social media, I would have started right from that very first project, dude. And I tell you, man, like people, if you want to get an engaged audience, like a truly engaged audience where your followers are really following along with you and have a genuine connection with you, start from the beginning, dude. Because if I could have gone all the way back to that very first deal and shared that first 4 years prior to ever me posting on there, right? It would have all the seeds that I planted now would have started back then, right? And so I feel like don't wait because people want to see that come up. They want to see that journey at the beginning. There's so many people that can resonate more with that at the beginning than Jason, even when I started with 19 rentals, because most people are like, dude, 19 rentals, I'll never have that. You know what I'm saying? So
most people never
don't wait. Don't worry about imposter syndrome. Nobody's watching your stuff at the beginning anyway. So might as well practice and just get it out of the way, and then you'll get better over time.
For sure. Well, I know you got a hard stop in a couple minutes. How can people follow along with you? How can people find you? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely, man. So I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook. I've got my Instagram handle up here on the screen. So it's at Jason Pritchard, or just type in Jason Pritchard on Facebook, either one of those platforms. We're very open and authentic about how we share our content on there. If you guys want to connect with me personally, you can go to my website, jasonpritchard.com. We've got a ton of free resources that we use in our business every single day. We've got a 10-page step-by-step guide on how exactly to get started that you could download for free. And there's a whole toolkit with everything that we use, our purchase agreements, our assignment agreements, all of our deal analyzers, our scripts that we use for sellers, 100% free. You guys can go download that stuff. We just want to try to help as many people as we can and transfer the things that have had a positive impact in our lives to as many people that want to get in the business and put in the work to find success, man. So if you guys are watching the show and you need any help or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out. I answer all my DMs. I'd be happy to be a resource to you guys if I can be.
Perfect. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you spending the time with us today. And yeah, man, I'm going to grab Todd and we're going to head on over to your event.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, I'll send you the dates, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. All right. That is all for today, everyone. We'll catch you in the next episode. Jason, thank you.
Thanks, brother.